Hey, FFR listeners. If you love getting to listen in on our convos each week, consider helping us keep bringing our signature brand of feminist pop culture analysis to you by joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/femfreak. You can get early access, exclusive bonus episodes, participate in AMAs, join our friendly Discord server, and more. That's patreon.com/femfreak. See you there.
Because it's a movie and because it's a superhero movie, there's not the slow evolution of breaking down his own humanity and losing his own humanity in order to justify those actions, right? Like, it was just instantaneous. Welcome to Feminist Frequency Radio. This is the show that asks you to be critical of the media you love. I'm Anita Sarkeesian, and I'm joined by my fellow disgruntled former Tony Stark employee, Carolyn Pettit.
Oh, I really hate that Tony Stark.
I mean...
No, yeah.
Kind of true.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to be discussing Peter Parker's swingin' European adventures in Spider-Man Far From Home. But first, we have a special guest, Sara Fritzon. Can you say your name properly? Because I can never say it right.
In Swedish?
Yeah.
Sara Fritzon.
It's such a good name. Sara is a video producer, nerd, and the least dogmatic vegan I've ever met. Also, she's Swedish, as you may have just noticed. Hi.
Hi. So happy to be here. I feel like I'm maybe like the token European for this episode since...
Oh, yeah. You can illuminate all the European-ness of this movie. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like a full tour of all of the landmarks. And why didn't Spider-Man come to Sweden?
That is a great question. I guess because it's cold.
Sure. And dark. So we wouldn't be able to see anything if they were filming it in Sweden.
All right, this is like a super ignorant, like, American question I'm about to ask. But, like, is Scandinavia, like, full-on Europe? Or isn't it, like, I don't know.
It's considered Northern Europe.
It's both.
Northern Europe.
It's both. We get to be both because we're fancy.
Okay, well, hey, congratulations. All right.
Anyway, Sara and I have known each other for many years, and I keep going back to Sweden, and she keeps allowing me to hang out with her. So I thought, why not have her on our podcast because she's a big Spider-Man fan.
I am.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you have, like, a history with Spider-Man, or, like, do you have feelings about, I mean, what makes you such a big fan?
Well, I have a lot of feelings about Spider-Man. And
I've been like 2 minutes of it.
Yeah. I've been a Spider-Man fan ever since I was a kid. I've had Spider-Man sheets, I've had Spider-Man posters, shoes. I've seen all of the movies. What was it about
Spider-Man that, like, hit you?
I think it's because he was young. And all the other superheroes were old and adults and weird. And he was the only one that was kind of like fun, young, and unfortunately always doomed to be a teenager. So he was just really relatable in that way. And he doesn't take himself very seriously because of that too, since he's just going through so much all the time. Like there's no rational way to deal with being a teenager on the hormones and stuff. So I just really found the comics and the movies to just be easy, even when it gets a little bit darker. Like I just like how he handles his issues.
Interesting. I've never thought about the age thing, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we do a bit of entertainment news and then we will come back to our dear, sweet, young Peter Parker. Carolyn?
All right. So in the biggest showbiz controversy since a black woman was cast as Ariel, which was like last week. Black woman Lashana Lynch is taking over the 007 designation from Daniel Craig, James Bond, in the next Bond film.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know about this.
Oh, yeah. So, and, you know, this script is, I believe, written or at least co-written by, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who, of course, is...
where the fuck have I been?
This is so exciting.
not paying any attention to the things I post in the Pop Talk channel, clearly, for one thing. Jeez, Anita.
I can't. I'm like about to fall out of my seat right now.
Okay,
I
yes.
have so many thoughts about this.
Right, but okay, so here's my and of course, like, people like, so Ben Shapiro, right, you know.
Wait, hold on.
Right,
also, just so people know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is probably best known to at least Americans as the creator and star of Fleabag.
right, but she also is the perhaps more relevant for this. She is the writer of the screenplays of the Killing Eve series. So, you know, she's certainly getting her hands dirty with some spy stuff there.
So James Bond is such a douchebag and so misogynist and shitty that, like,
yeah,
is this exciting?
Well, that's exactly my question, right? Is like I feel like there's a certain segment of people that are like, oh, you know, this is inherently like going to make it quote unquote feminist or whatever, but like I'm very much in the boat of, well, James Bond has always been associated with wealth and empire and, you know, violence through wealth and technology and all this stuff. Just, I mean, even if you replace that character with a black woman, it doesn't, you know, if she is doing all of the same kind of, you know, imperialistic stuff, it doesn't necessarily make it like okay or good. So
I wonder if they'll make, like, they could. Is there any way to redeem James Bond and make him more like a rogue Robin Hood type character?
I mean, I think it's certainly possible to do that. I just, you know, that would be a really dramatic
shift. Yeah, especially when you're bringing in not white dudes to helm this.
Right. So, you know, I mean, obviously it's an exciting bit of news, but the proof will be in the pudding, like how it's all actually framed, what this new character does in the role of 007, whether the films are still male gazy as fuck or not, with her in that, you know, in that role. Like, there's a lot we don't know and we won't know until at least we start seeing trailers, if not the actual film. So yeah, a lot of stuff still up in the air. Though I will say, for people who still want their British spy movies extremely white and male, there's also a trailer for the new movie in the Kingsman series, and boy, that looks like white and male AF. Like, that looks like it was produced in the 1960s in terms of its like ideology. It looks so regressive. So, you know, don't worry, white male audience. They're still making movies for you. The white male audience that's like upset about the idea of a black woman being 007.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay. So also, because everyone is talking about it, I have to talk about the trailer for Cats. So, like, I gotta say, first of all, like, everyone is freaking out about how the cats look in the movie, and I think they look fine. Like, I don't know what people were expecting. I think the cats look fine.
Is this like a live action version of the play?
Oh my God.
I don't know anything this
Anita,
week,
you really need to look in Pop Talk once in a while.
Really not checked into things this week.
It is a film adaptation of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical.
Fun fact, the only musical I've ever walked out of was Cats, because it's so bad.
But did you at least stay for Memories?
Yeah, because the Memories is right before the intermission.
So this is a film adaptation, but it's not like the Broadway production where it's people in like leotards and like, you know, with makeup to make them look like cats. It is kind of CGI cat fur, you know, and
it kind of looks like a mix.
Yeah, they look like a mix.
That's what bothers me, that it looks like a mix of that, which makes it super confusing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like most people, feel that way. Most people are having a really negative, kind of
unloving. I mean, just overwhelmingly loves anything to do with cats, no matter what.
No, it's not that. I just feel like I just think they look. I just feel like there's this attitude right now that the Lion King was. I mean, the Lion King, the new CGI Lion King, way too realistic and just looks so drab and boring. But then, I'm going to apologize to our audience because if y'all hear construction noises on my end, I don't know if our producer Rob will be able to eliminate them completely. So you may hear some of that because there's construction happening outside my apartment. So just want to acknowledge that on the recording. But like this movie Cats looks. I don't know. I just feel like, what do we want? Like what? I think, I don't know. To me, it looks fine. But I haven't even gotten to the most important part yet of all of this, which is that that the main one of the main characters in Cats is called Victoria, and Victoria is like the all-white cat. Like that's the cat's deal, is they are white. But in the film, Victoria is being played by a woman named Francesca Hayward, who is a black English ballerina. And the thing is that in the film, like, you would not know that she is a black woman, like, playing, because she's literally all white fur, like head to toe. But other actors, like say Taylor Swift in the film, like, you can tell that it's Taylor Swift because, like, the makeup, the CGI effect rather, kind of reveals enough of Taylor Swift's face that you can see that she's a white woman. All these other actors, you can see enough of their skin and their human face to know who they are. But Francesca Hayward, who is a black woman, like, you don't see the fact that she's black. You don't see her natural skin tone at all.
I got stuck at Taylor Swift is in a live action remake of Cats.
Yes.
True.
Wow, I am blowing Anita's mind with the entertainment news this week.
Yeah, man. This is how I learn things, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
I mean, but it has quite a cast. It has like Judi Dench, Ian McKellen, Idris Elba. I don't know, a lot. Taylor Swift, Jennifer Hudson. A lot of other names in it that I'm blanking on right now. Rebel Wilson, and so on. So it's a big, production. And initial reaction to the trailer has been very not good. So.
I feel like it's the Sonic movie all over again.
I was my God, I was just about to mention that. I'm like, are they going to go change everything now because it was done so badly?
I don't think they can though, because I mean, it's shot with that many people.
Not animated.
Yeah, it just looks so weird. But I'm excited to see it just because of that reason.
Right. Well, see there, maybe it'll be a plus for the movie in that people have that element of like curiosity, of like, oh my, or go to watch it like ironically, like because they think it looks so bad, but it'll still be money in the bank for the filmmakers. Yeah. So,
but also more importantly, the internet is blowing up with some of the greatest memes I've seen in a long time because of this, which is the best part. Like there was one that was like where they just switched out all the faces to Ron Swanson and just made it better.
Oh my God.
Wow. I have not seen that, but I have to look that up now. All right.
Are we done? Are you done, Carol?
Yeah, let's move from Cats to Spider-Man.
Spiders. Cool. Before we do that, let's take a quick break.
Hey, Feminist Frequency Radio listeners. Why not join our Patreon community at patreon.com/femfreak? Seriously, what are you waiting for?
All right, welcome back. So Tony Stark is dead, man.
What?
And in the wake of his mentor's passing, young Peter Parker just wanted to get away from it all for a little while. And his school trip to Europe seems like the perfect opportunity to do so. But wouldn't you know it, a mysterious new hero, Mysterio, just happens to be fighting elemental titans from another universe in Venice when Peter and his classmates are there. And Peter finds himself wrapped up in the fight.
Dun, dun, dun.
I watched the trailers and I did not I was like, this sounds stupid. This is a dumb idea. I don't know why this is what it is. I think this is dumb. But like, I really, really like Tom Holland as Peter Parker a lot. And I think that his he's so charismatic and so perfect in this role that I really have found myself enjoying both. Like, I've found myself enjoying both the Spider-Man movies that he's been in and also while he's in the Avengers.
My feeling is that Tom Holland is a great Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And that only makes me more frustrated and disappointed that I dislike these movies so much. But I just watched Homecoming right before I saw this. I'd not seen it before. And, and like there's so much I like about that film. I mean, I don't know if people know this, but I'm a huge fan of Michael Keaton as an actor, and he is so good in, like, I wish he'd been more developed, but like in the scenes he does get in that film, he's so good. So like I tweeted, I did this thing where I took screen caps of his character, Adrian Toomes, saying, there's one point in the film where he says to Spider-Man, like something like, the rich people, they all do what they want and they don't care about us. We build their roads, we fight their wars for them, but they don't care about us. And I tweeted it saying like, TFW, the villain is right. And like it, for like by the standards of my Twitter account, that tweet did really well. It got like hundreds and hundreds of retweets and a few thousand likes. And like, but some people replied to it and were like, yeah, but he's actually rich. Like, did you see his house? Like he did. What is he saying this for? Or like, yeah, but he doesn't have the moral high ground. Like he does bad things. And I'm like, yeah, but that's exactly the problem. Is that these films take ideology that is like actually valid and true, but they discredit it by putting it in the, in the mouths of the villains and or people who don't really, who it doesn't really belong to. And who do we align ourselves with? Like Spider-Man in these films is so aligned with the wealth and power of Stark, and which makes me so much miss like the Raimi films to an extent because in those he actually kind of was like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which these movies make a joke about. Like they call, there's like be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but he's so aligned with the wealth and power of the Avengers. In this movie, he almost kills a classmate with a drone strike as like a joke, and like. So ultimately and in this film, like the bad guys are disgruntled Tony Stark employees because these films lionize Stark so much. Like to me, it sounds like they have a valid grievance. Like Tony Stark is an asshole. I'm sure he would be like a terrible boss. But again, we're not supposed to like identify with the laborers, the workers, like the people who have that view. We're supposed to be opposed to them and see them as like unreasonable and illegitimate, and again ultimately be aligned with like the plane that can 3D print a new Spider-Man suit on the fly and all this like power and technology. And so anyway, like everything that I like about these films, such as Tom Holland as Spider-Man, ultimately only makes me more frustrated that I hate the politics of these films so much and wish that they were better in that regard, and that I liked what they do with Spider-Man more.
It's really funny because right before we started recording, we were just explaining to Sara about like the freak-outs and all that, and I was like, I have a freak out for next week. That is exactly what you just said about how crime shows do that, and it drives me fucking nuts. So tune in next week when I say the same thing Carolyn just said. What's funny is I walked out of this movie, and so this is a very stupid thing to say. I was like, the villain is so contrived. And then I said that to someone, and they were like, yeah, all villains are. In these superhero movies. There was something about Mysterio and Quentin where, I don't have a problem with the sort of gotcha thing that was happening, but just like it felt so overwrought in terms of his motivations. Like it felt like it was trying really hard to do something new and interesting in terms of the reasons why someone would become a villain and the ways that they're doing it, right? Like using these new technologies and that sort of thing. That didn't feel smooth to me. It felt really like a lot of effort went into it, which I know is dumb. Like I've been trying to mull this over and be like, why is this standing out to me more than someone like what's his fuck with the glove? The power glove in the Avengers movie.
The Thanos?
Yeah,
Thanos?
right, like why why didn't I have the same reaction to that? Because it's no dumber than this, right?
And I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was awesome in this movie. Like, I thought that he, like, when he was supposed to be a good guy, or we're supposed to see him as a good guy, like, I totally, like, he did that so well. I almost kind of wish that he could be, like, a good guy in the Avengers, you know, going forward, because I just found him such a warm, kind of wholesome presence in a way. But then also, like, the twist, so I went into this, like, movie knowing Mysterio is a Marvel villain, so I knew there was going to be a twist at some point. And I thought the way they did it with the scene where, you know, like, Mysterio is resisting Peter giving him the Edith gloves, but glasses rather, but you know that's exactly what he wants. And then Peter leaves, and the illusion. I thought that scene was great. Like, I thought that was a great way to do the kind of twist reveal. So I don't have that problem. Like, I actually thought the way that they took Mysterio and brought him into the MCU, I thought it was pretty clever. Actually, I liked that aspect of it.
Sarah, what do you think?
You can like this. You don't have to. I just want to be clear. Like, you can like these movies. That's okay. I know that I come down really harsh on them. And don't feel like you have to agree with me.
No, I love all of these movies, and I both love Homecoming and Far From Home. Mm-hmm. But I also like. So the issue I have is that they're trying to make these villains seem more human than they are. Especially coming from the comic book world. So in the comic book world, like, you're black and white, like, it's good or bad. And now they're trying to make them, like, more human, to give them more depth and all that. And I understand that. That's great. But then their motives are just as bad, basically, as in the comic books. Like, the moral line just keeps pushing further and further away, where I just kept having this bad feeling when he was talking about, like, how much he liked Peter and how sorry he was, but he had no problem killing him like a 16-year-old boy. And it's the same issue I have with all of these movies, where, like, it's just kind of feels like you justify some, like, using violence recklessly, but still, like, trying to, you know, make the audience feel sympathy for them, and I just have big issues with that.
Yeah, so you would rather these films be like full villain, no humanizing, like, motivation should be pretty simple.
I would like it for them, like, if they're trying to make the villain more complex, to actually, like, take the full step and not just do it half-assed, because that's kind of like what the issue is. They're trying to go deeper into this, and they're like, no, too deep. Let's jump out. And then now I'm just going to kill a 16-year-old. No problem. And
I think that was one of my issues with Mysterio, in that, like, you know, it wasn't necessarily the motivation. So I 100% agree with how, Carolyn, what you opened with, of like, there is so many reasons for, like, as the audience, you're like, yeah, that's fucked up, right? Like, but the way that you're dealing with it is poor, and so therefore you're a villain. And so what I had a hard time with was that, like, I don't care about the casualties. I don't care about, like, I need to kill Peter now and Spider-Man now because it's in the way of my big master plan. And it's not necessarily like, because it's a movie and because it's a superhero movie, there's not the slow evolution of breaking down his own humanity and losing his own humanity in order to justify those actions, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was just instantaneous.
It was a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That might be part of the issue I had too.
One thing that I do kind of unabashedly like about this in the new Spider-Man movies, and particularly Far From Home, is MJ. I think that
I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so I feel like I don't know. She's everything, just her downbeat sense of humor, her whole kind of, just her whole way of being, her whole attitude, to me, it's just really like endearing, and it feels somehow genuine to me. Like, I feel like she is like real people that I knew in high school and stuff, whereas so many of the students, you just feel like broad personality types or something. But I don't know. Obviously MJ's not like super developed as a character or whatever, but I just feel like she's not a character type who we normally see in films like this. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know. To me, there's something really refreshing about her, and I get why Peter likes her. Like, I find her really just, smart, but also charming and funny and quirky and just interesting as a person. And so I'm on board with that aspect of these films.
Yeah, I really like MJ in this too, played by Zendaya. And I think that the first movie got a lot of props because they did a psych out for like who MJ was going to be. Like, it wasn't the, redhead, blonde, white woman or like classmate. It was a woman of color. And I think that we were all like, oh, that's awesome that they did that. That's great. But as I was watching this movie, I was like, this movie is so fucking white. Like, it just continues to be the whitest movie. Like, as they can in a growing landscape of attempting to tell more stories of color. And so I found that really frustrating, of like, it's basically her and Peter's friend Ned, who in this movie was, he in both the movies he plays comic relief, but like he did like nothing in this movie other than
because he gets sidelined with the plot about him, like he has this girlfriend now, and so he's always like off with the girlfriend,
which I thought was funny. Like, I thought that whole thing with sitting on the plane and then like, now we're dating and then you get back and you're not, like, it was that whole thing was very amusing to me, and I thought it was a cute high school-y kind of hormonal thing. But I'm concerned about how like everyone in this movie is white and continues to be, well, not everyone, but for the most part, right? Like, it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm like.
I mean, obviously, there's a fair amount of this doesn't like. There's a fair amount of Nick Fury in this film, like there is in a lot of Marvel movies, but that's kind of par for the course.
And I think part of it is like the main characters are Peter Parker and Mysterio, and I don't want Mysterio to be a person of color,
right?
In this, like, I don't want it to be this like young, white, bright-eyed kid fighting this like person of color, but at the same time, like, it makes it so the film feels very white to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have. Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean,
it's the same issue that all superhero movies have.
Yeah, which is we like. It's like why Black Panther feels so refreshing and so revolutionary. Yeah. But also like it shouldn't feel that way, because it shouldn't be that like rare and like amazing thing of, oh my god, here's like a superhero movie that actually like centers, Black people or whatever. Like,
yeah, we talked about this a bit with Captain Marvel too, where it's like, okay, so you have the best friend who's a Black woman and her daughter, and then on the sort of villain side, you have the two sidekick characters who are people of color. Like, there are more people of color in that world than there are in this world, but it equally, none of those characters really matter in any real kind of way, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, it feels a bit like the MCU has, I mean, it's established itself as this like white universe, and now it has to actively take steps to become not that, if it's going to. But so it's like, well, is anything going to happen with this new Black Captain America, for instance? Like, is he actually going to get to be Captain America in some sort of real way? Or
I'm wondering if they're ever going to do a Spider-Man in this. I mean, ever. They're probably going to do these for fucking ever, but like with Miles Morales, right? Like, how many times have they rebooted?
That's
Peter
what
Parker?
I'm hoping for, especially since Into the Spider-Verse got so much praise.
Yeah.
But we also we were all hoping for Donald Glover to be that Spider-Man, but I guess
that's so true. And then
we missed that train.
It so weird seeing him as like just a petty criminal in Homecoming. It's like, oh man, like,
I know. I think it was kind of like a little joke, but also it was kind of like, it also hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, did I miss something?
There was this years ago.
Like, we were all speculating like who was going to be that, like Miles Morales, and everyone wanted Donald Glover to be him.
There was this huge internet movement of sorts to get Donald Glover cast as like
I thought he was in this movie, and I was like, wait, did I miss something?
No, he has a throwaway part in Homecoming, but it's not an important role.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. What do you think of MJ, Sarah?
I like her a lot. I especially like her because she gets to just be like, not meh, but like in the background when she wants to. And she gets to step up when she wants to. Like, I read something really interesting where someone had seen this movie, walked out, and for the first time in a long time, texted their friend because they said that they just felt like they saw their friend on their screen for once. This character was similar to you, like this was something relatable and not just like a really, really strong superhero woman that felt unrealistic. And I just thought that was like really nice and accurate to this character where like I could see MJ being a friend of mine growing up, like in Uplands-Väsby where I grew up, and we just hated everything. And just wanted to skip school all the time and, stay home and play board games.
I've been totally unrelated to this, but related to that point is I've been reading this book that takes place in the city that I went to high school in. And it's like about being sort of like a disaffected punk rock teenager in the city I grew up in. And I was like, what, who wrote a book about me? I don't understand.
You go.
How did that happen?
I think the only thing that the movie missed though is that because such a big part of it was the whole like them trying to handle the trauma of getting blipped, and she was one of them too. Like like that was a
because otherwise
great
she'd be
coincidence
5 years
for
older.
him. Yeah, exactly. Like
like how lucky that Ned and MJ and Peter all
and Mary,
all got blipped. But
that's
anyway.
fine. That's fine. I think it would have been way more interesting actually if she hadn't gotten blipped and he came back and he was like, "Oh, do I still have a chance?" And she'd be like, "No, you're gross. You're super young." That would have been better.
No, I like these kids. I want them to have time together.
Yeah. But like I didn't see that much like from her, like, or enough space in the movie for her to actually like handle the trauma a little bit more.
I felt like it completely, like it had the little thing at the very beginning explaining, like just so the audience understands, like, oh, that's why this one character is like 5 years older now,
exactly.
But everyone else is exactly the same.
The way they did that was really funny. Like I know
it was funny.
Lot of really smart touches of having the high school TV channel do the recap.
Yeah.
The opening of like in memoriam of Tony Stark. It was great. Yeah.
I just, I felt like the film didn't really want to spend time on. I think, because Endgame. I think the MCU wants to treat Endgame as like the big, like that's where the trauma is processed. Now let's like put it behind us and move forward. So the film didn't really take any time to kind of, well, how does MJ or Peter or Ned, any of these people deal with the fact that they were blipped away for 5 years? Like, there's just like, oh, now my younger brother is older than me or whatever. It's like these kinds of little throwaway lines, but it's not a thing the movie actually cares about.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it could have been handled better, especially since it's obvious that Peter is trying to deal with this trauma throughout the whole movie. Like both his mentor is gone and he's like, where do I go from here? Like he just basically wants to continue where they left off and, still be your local neighborhood Spider-Man and not have to do these kind of like huge adventures because he kind of wants to go on summer vacation sometimes, but he can't.
Yeah. Is that it? Like, because I was actually just about to ask, in this movie, it's very much like he doesn't really want to do the job anymore. Like, he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore.
Right.
And like, how do you feel? Like, how did you both feel about that? Because Spider-Man, that's like a new thing for Spider-Man, right? Like, he was always. I think the reason that Spider-Man resonates with a lot of people also is because he's sort of the working class hero, right? Like
Yeah.
he's always just like fighting the good fight, and he's not some rich asshole with a bunch of like tools beating up mentally disabled folks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, one of my favorite superhero movies ever is the second Sam Raimi movie, Spider-Man 2. And like the whole existential conflict of that is that Peter doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore, right? So he keeps like losing his abilities because his heart's not in it. Like he's not feeling it anymore. And I thought the way that film handled it was really excellent. I guess, yeah, I just wish, again, it kind of comes back to that political thing of like, I mean, I feel like Nick Fury is such a jerk in this film, putting all this pressure on this high school kid to be this like massive hero when he kind of does want to just be like a normal high schooler, or at least have the freedom, the opportunity to live that part of his life. And and again, like I wish that he could be the working class hero, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but these movies don't seem interested in letting him do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of like Nick Fury movie, though, like in this movie, because like I said before, like time continued without them, and it's hard to come back after 5 years of being nothing and just be like, oh, I'm still a kid, but everyone else is not, and I kind of want to stay in that way and just go back to where we left off, but it's not possible anymore. And Nick Fury was kind of like the reality check of being like, no, you actually have to grow up a little bit now, even though you don't want to. Like it's being forced upon him, and it's really, really tough on him. And I thought it was like really interesting to see like how, at least me, like I interpreted Mysterio as basically like this big illusion, this grand illusion of what being an adult is for Peter, where like he looked up to Mysterio and saw like, wow, well, you should have Edith because you're so fucking grown up and you have it all together. So here you go. Same way he saw Tony as well. So when Happy was all like, no, actually, Tony was a fucking mess, Peter was like, oh, well, I guess I can be too, because I'm 16. I'm a mess all the time. And I thought that was really nice of like how he actually realized that you don't have to have all of your shit together, just a little bit, just enough to make, one decision so you can keep going. I really like that.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like that sentiment a lot. I was thinking about Nick Fury and how like he's a connective tissue. He's not really like a character in a lot of these movies. But that there's something interesting in this particular one where you're seeing him be like, fuck, I was gone and I've like lost my powers.
Yeah.
Like not real, but like my power is like knowing and being on top of everything and like hoarding and lording over people and like getting them to move at my whim. And I'm just like losing that. Because of this thing that happened. And I think that there was a very like interesting subtext that I wonder if they're going to pull through into other films or not. That I don't know. I think it's interesting. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of it because he's not really,
he only
get to be developed.
Yeah. I mean,
unless
it's only
they make a Nick Fury movie.
Yeah. It's only in the rare film like Captain Marvel, he got to be more of like a full-fledged kind of sidekick character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them develop that more in the next, few MCU movies, whatever those end up being.
We might see that in the next Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe. All right. Well, cool. That was a movie. I enjoyed it.
Me too.
I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Even if I was like frustrated with some parts of it, I think that to me it was a solid, enjoyable film to watch with, whatever. All right. Any last thoughts?
What'd you all think about the ending? Did you see the extra cutscene?
The post-credit scene?
I walked out.
What happened? No. Tell me what happens in the post-credit scene.
Oh, okay. So him and MJ just land on Times Square, and he's like, okay, that was great, I'm gonna go. And then he kind of stops. Yeah. And then he sees this TV segment where they're like, oh, Spider-Man killed Mysterio and he is Peter Parker. And it just kind of like explodes from there. Just like everything revealed.
So his identity is out and now in the MCU?
Yep. They even showed
a minute. Wait, I watched that.
Yeah. It happened.
But I didn't see that part of it.
Now he's not going to get to be a normal high school kid
exactly.
at all.
And I think that was the whole movie was about. Like, his time of being a normal teenager is completely over. He can't just like do both anymore, especially now that he's just like totally out.
Oh,
poor kid.
Yeah.
What a hard life.
Very hard.
If you could be Spider-Man, would you?
Yes.
No.
That's been my dream ever since I was a kid. I even made my own costume, so yes.
Aww.
Amazing. All right, we'll be right back with our freakouts.
Hey, Feminist Frequency Radio listeners. We'd love to have you join our Patreon community. Hop on over to patreon.com/femfreak. Do it now!
Now it's time to talk about what's been thrilling us, moving us, upsetting us, or infuriating us this past week. Carolyn, why don't you get us started?
Okay. I wish I could be more articulate about the issue I'm about to raise. I don't feel like I have anything particularly insightful to say about it. But, we've all heard about how this past week, Trump at a rally was spouting his xenophobic, racist bullshit about Ilhan Omar, and the crowds started chanting like "send her back, send her back," and like we're now like, not that we haven't been for months and months and months, but it's like I just feel like like the maintainable illusion that like Trump is not a racist, fascist, demagogue is like becoming ever more ridiculous to maintain. And, but I see this like, and I see some people on the right are doing this thing where they're saying, oh, well, look, anything we on the right do, they're going to call us racist. So we may as well do what we're going to do anyway, because they're going to call us racist. It's kind of liberating once you realize that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, chanting "send her back" about a refugee, a brown woman, is like literally like, it doesn't get more like blatant textbook racist than that. Like, we're calling racism. What do you, I don't know. My feelings, I get so, sometimes I just feel so, hopeless and full of anger and despair. And, but I see like, then there's clips like, so I don't care about sports much. I don't watch ESPN or anything, but like, there's this clip going around of this, I guess, a pretty popular ESPN sports talk show where the host, who is a white man, is like saying, we here at ESPN are cowards because we only ever get into like the racial dimensions of sports and what's happening in our country when it's directly related to a sports story. Like, we don't have any choice because, Colin Kaepernick does something or whatever. And it's like, it's cowardly. Like, we all at this point need to step forward and say, this is like, to call out what's happening by name, to engage with it, to, confront it. And I feel like there's more of that happening now, which I don't know, I guess maybe is good, but I don't know. I just feel like things are like building to some kind of, there's head where like, I don't even know what's going to happen, but it's, and I don't know.
I mean, and part of the problem here is that the extremism, like I don't even want to use the word extremism, but that like the far, like the fascism and the white supremacy and yeah, like the very, very extreme hate has started to become so normalized to us that our sense of outrage like has also risen in that same way of like, it has to get worse and worse for us to be like, oh yeah, of course that's what happened.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that you're just kind of like, well, whatever, because that's just how it is now. And you become desensitized. That is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We become desensitized to it, and it makes it harder to fight because it has to get more and more extreme for us to recognize when it's really like, it's kind of terrifying to me that the levels that we have to go to for something to be newsworthy at this point.
Right. I mean, there was the new, you know, very credible, like I hesitate to use the word accusation because it's not it is an account of another, you know, sexual assault performed by the president of the United States. You know, that barely made a blip.
Right, because you're like, of course he is. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like even people like, you know, Nancy Pelosi, like Democratic leaders are like, you know, I didn't pay much attention to it, to be honest. Like, because they, you know, it's all so normalized at this point. Like,
well, it's normalized, and also like it feels like it's insurmountable.
Yeah.
Right. Like we are, before he was elected, we knew this. So what does it matter?
Right.
And that's the sad reality of where we're at.
Right.
So,
and we know that his supporters, like, they like this. Like, that's like, it's not like people are, you know, his supporters by and large are like, oh man, I wish he would, you know, wish he wouldn't do these things or say these things. Like this motive, this fires up his base. Like they like that he's, you know, he can say and do these things and get away with them. It makes them feel empowered, or, you know, powerful by extension in a sense. And so, yeah, I don't have any big conclusive point other than to say, I'm angry. I'm scared. I'm you know, furious. I'm horrified. I'm, you know, exhausted. And
should we all move to Sweden where it's just standard white supremacists?
No, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway, so that's it. That's all I've got.
Well,
yeah.
Let's
lighten it up a bit.
Let's hard shift this away from that.
Yeah.
Or we could talk about that forever.
No.
Sarah and I decided to do a joint freak out because when I was in Sweden, however long ago that was.
It was very recently.
Yeah, it was like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Months ago. I don't know. We started playing Wizards Unite, the Harry Potter version of Pokemon Go, basically. Mm-hmm. And it kind of sucks. But apparently Sarah likes it now.
I do. It's getting better.
Okay, tell me. Okay, so it's not okay. The graphic design is very poor, which is unfortunate, and it was very hard to get into it and figure out what to do. And then it felt like collecting stickers, right? Like in this way that was not really exactly satisfying. So,
right.
How has it evolved from there?
Well, I think first off, like what I did after we played it together was that I played it a lot with my friend that knows a lot about it. So to get into it, you kind of need to have a guide that knows so much more than you. Because I thought I knew a lot, but no, there was apparently a lot more to know. So that's great. But now, like, they're really trying to do like community stuff with it, which I find is very interesting. So today, July 20th, it's actually the first community day here in Sweden. So people that are playing the game will meet up at a certain place and a certain time to play this together. So this is like being pinged to you in the app, which is
so I know
really, really
I know
fun.
People who play Pokemon Go that do that. Like they go to meetups still.
Exactly, but this is arranged by the game.
Yeah.
So it's not arranged by certain players, which I feel is kind of interesting. I didn't go because I'm here. But I'm going to check in with my friend later how it went. And now like there's special events going on that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting where you can like fight different kinds of monsters that you haven't seen before. Like I've been fighting vampires a lot now, and It's been easier. Yeah, I know, right? And it's been easier to collect some things. And as soon as you start getting into like using port keys more and potions, putting them on like brew and growing stuff in the greenhouses, it's just kind of get into emotion of it. I really like that. And I really still like when you go to a fortress or whatever and you battle with your friends.
All right. Maybe I need to give it another chance.
Yeah.
If anyone else out there is playing Wizards Unite, let us know what you think. I know a lot of people who dropped out because it was so.
It's a lot. It's a lot. You have to, but I think they're listening to some feedback because it already feels a little bit easier to get into again, which is cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this week we have a guest freak out from Helix. Sorry I hope I'm saying your name right. From Brazil. Yay.
Hello, Feminist Frequency. This is Alex Pereira from Brazil, and I'm freaking out about the latest album by Ingrid Michaelson, Stranger Songs. It's inspired by the last season of Stranger Things that premiered on Netflix on July 4th, and it's amazing. Ingrid Michaelson is a great artist and singer, composer. She's all around awesome, and this latest album has got me freaking out. Peace.
All right, you can submit your own freak out at feministfrequency.com/freakout. That's FREQOUT. Thanks so much for listening to Feminist Frequency Radio. Stay tuned for the Freakin' After Party, only available to backers of this podcast. You can learn more at patreon.com/femfreak. Sarah, will you stay on and do some bonus episoding with us so everyone can hear more about you?
Sure.
You sound so enthusiastic.
Yay! Yes, of course I
will. You can find us everywhere great podcasts are found. And if you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review us. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and all the social medias at FemFreak. This show's engineered by Rob Pera. Sarah Norales provides technical support, artwork by Jamie Varon, and our intro music is by Phil Circus. Join us next week for another feminist dive into pop culture. Thanks for listening.
Later.